very briefly. I thought you might be interested in where we are with the revision of 14181. Before I'd seen Leslie's talk, I actually also had been relying on AI to generate these little cartoons for me. I think my job's safe, at least briefly. So Working Group 9 in TC264 that I convene has a new work item to revise 14181. The drivers for that were changes to a lot of the reference standards that we call up within there, issues raised by current implementation that I'm sure many of you are aware of, the impact of these reduced ELVs and the associated emission limit ranges that we've heard about, and some issues with new sources. This is a slide I use a lot, which just shows the kind of way we have a network of standards that all join together to underpin the quality assurance in Europe. And I had highlighted that a number of these standards have been revised. So a lot of the standards which are called up, so for example, the performance testing standards have been revised, leading to us to at least need a minimal revision of 14181 just to update, deal with the updated referenced standards. So we have a number of options. We have a basic revision that we're trying to fast track. Fast track is a bit of a loose term in terms of standardization, but faster than it usually takes to just address those almost procedural changes, address some of the regulatory references, etc. But then we're also looking to review the calibration function, the Qual2, and is it working with these lower limits, and trying to address some of the issues with the changes in the IED. So we requested comments. We had more than 46 pages of comments from member states and from people like CWEP, the Waste Industry Association. We had a subgroup reviewed those. We prioritized those. We had the next meeting to review those, but over the summer we were a little bit lax. I was on holiday. So we've still got some catching up to do. But some of the issues we've looked at, alternate methods linking to the data handling system standard that was mentioned there, and reviewing these Qual2 approaches and Qual3 charts. Timings and responsibilities need to be a bit clearer in the standard. Some of the issues around ranges, etc. So many of the things that you've all raised, we're looking at. And time frame. So we're, in the next meeting, going to be looking at the decision on how we address these and this sort of probably two-track approach in terms of the revision. And then we're looking to get an internal fast-track revision for inquiry beginning of next year, which would be for this shorter, quick modification of the corrections, and then looking potentially for a more comprehensive revision to follow on from that. So sorry for taking your time, but thought you might be interested to know we are working on 14181. Now over to the real talk, the interesting stuff.
Hi. So I'm probably preaching to the choir about what uncertainty is, but I thought I'd just go over it really quickly. So uncertainty is the amount of doubt surrounding the accuracy of the measured value, expresses the value within which the true measurand is likely to lie. Measurements are key to how the modern world operates effectively and performed on a daily basis across a wide range of sectors. The reliability of the measurements to be a true representation of the measurand is needed for making informed decisions. Comparison of measurement is an essential activity in science, calibration, and testing. And the need for understanding of the margin of error within measurements is required so the interpretation of the results can be done correctly. The Guide to the Expression of Uncertainty in Measurement, or the GUM for short, establishes general rules for evaluating and expressing uncertainty, whereby the measured value should be presented in a way that is understandable and usable by the recipient. The guidance given by this document that applied to many scientific measurements, and the uncertainty calculations assessed through BS EN14181 are no different. And I like to think of uncertainty like a river, so you have all the tributaries that go in to make the main thing, and then you get to the end. So how is it currently assessed? And when I was making this slide, Rod kept going badly whenever he saw me have it up on the screen. In accordance with the European Industrial Emissions Directive, the IED, emissions from large combustion plants must be measured on a continuous basis through automated measurement systems, AMS for short, also referred to interchangeably as continuous emissions measurement systems. However, AMS are established to automatically measure and record variables such as temperature, flow, and chemical composition through the use of sensors such as thermocouples and flow meters, whereas SEMs are exclusively designed for continuous emissions monitoring, with specific instrumentation such as gas analyzers and sample conditioning systems through which the data is collected and transmitted to the relevant emissions authorities, aka a SEMS is an AMS designed to measure emissions, whereas not all AMSs are SEMS. AMS, through intended for SEMS, are required to be accurate, reliable, and comply with current regulations established by competent authorities. The BSEN standard 14181 establishes the guidelines surrounding installation, calibration, and maintenance of AMS, and outlines how the uncertainty arising from these processes can be calculated. So it's currently assessed through 3 quality assurance levels, or QALs for short, and they're laid out within this standard. QAL 1 outlines the quality check of the measurement procedure and the suitability of the AMS for the species targeted. QAL 2 describes the calibration and validation of the AMS by the means of a standard reference method, SRM, and QAL 3 describes the ongoing quality assurance during operation. This is then expressed as a value of 99% confidence interval and as a percentage of the emissions limit value, or ELV. Once this uncertainty is calculated, the uncertainty is subtracted from the validated average emissions values of the target species to establish whether the plant is within legislative limits. In the case of NOx, the maximum permissible uncertainty is derived from the IED confidence intervals at daily emissions levels is 10%. So, where are the sources of uncertainty? The largest contributions to uncertainty within the QAL procedures are measurement instrumentation,